Hi there, I'm Andrew, you're watching ThatGamerAjax, and welcome back to the tabletop. Now, we've talked a little bit on the basics on how to play Cyberpunk Red, but now how exactly is it that you make a character in Cyberpunk Red? Now, there are 3 different ways of making your character in Cyberpunk Red, and we will go through all of those today, so if one of the methods sticks out to you, great. And if there are any general character building tips that you have for other players, please feel free to leave those in the comments. I always appreciate a little additional support. So, what exactly do you need in order to make a character? So, all you need is a 10-sided die and a character sheet. Now, I'll make sure that I have a link to where to find those in the description of this video. But other than that, all you need is your core rulebook, and if you're following along at home, you just turn to page 72, and that's where we'll get started. So let's dive right on in to the first method, which is the street rat, or a template method. So this is by far the easiest way to make a character in Cyberpunk Red. This will begin on page 74. In order to determine your stats, all you'll do is roll that 10-sided die and copy down the stats for the associated role that you're going to be playing. So if you're playing like a solo, a net runner, a fixer, or a med tech, or something like that, it's already there for you. All you do is just determine what number you get, write down those stats, and you're ready to move on to the next step. It's really that simple. You'll be doing the exact same thing when it comes to your character's skills, and those will be found on page 86 of the core rulebook. Now, your equipment and your cyberware is already pre-selected for you, though you'll have a spare 500 Eurobucks to spend on really whatever you would like. And from here, once you have all that stuff written down, all you need is a game master and a group to play with, and you're ready to get going. Now, let's go ahead and shift on over into the second method, which is the edge runner method. Now, this is what I did when I made my character. So far, the only one that I've made in Cyberpunk Red. But it is very simple. It's a little bit more in-depth than the street rat method that we just discussed. But and you'll have a little bit more customization for your character. In order to generate your character stats, you'll turn to page 77. Then, going from left of that chart to the right, you'll roll a 10-sided die, and then you'll write down the score that is associated with each stat. So this will be like your body, your empathy, your reflexes, and then you have kind of like a random assortment of numbers that have been generated. You're not going to be particularly great at anything, but you're not going to be terrible at anything either. Now, when you are determining your character's skill scores, this is where things are going to get a little bit more complicated. Edge runners have a grand total of 86 points that you have to distribute amongst your skills, and there is a list that is already spelled out for you that are the main things that you are going to want to focus on as that specific role. Now, something that you need to note when you are distributing these points is that none of your skills can go higher than 6, but they can't go lower than 2. A suggestion that is in the book is that when it comes to those main skills that are spelled out for you, that you put 4 points in each, and then you can distribute the remaining 6 points however you feel like it. Now, from here, very similar to the street rat method, your equipment and your cyberware is already going to be filled out for you. You'll have a couple of choices for you, though. It's basically choice A or choice B, usually in terms of cyberware. And then you just make your final decisions, and you are ready to play. Now, for method 3, if you are the kind of person that likes to have total control over how your character is built, this is going to be the method for you. This is called the complete package. So this is much more in-depth. It'll take you a bit longer, especially if you're new to the game, but you can make a character build that is going to be entirely unique for you. So to determine your overall stats, you have 62 points to distribute across your 10 main stats. A quick recommendation that is in the book is that you put 6 points in each, spend those remaining 2 points kind of wherever you feel like, and then from there, begin to move things around. Something that you should definitely note, though, is that no stat score can be higher than 8, and it can't be lower than 2, so keep that in mind. So this is where, like, if you want to play like that really beefy brawler character, go to that 8 points in body and just go up and start punching the ever-loving crap out of everything that gets in your way. So, very similar to the edge runner method is that you will have 86 points to distribute among your skills, but something that you need to note is that this can be across any skill. It's not anything in particular that is recommended for you. This is going to be any skill you want. So if you want to come up with some kind of really crazy build, this is where you're really going to get into the nuts and bolts of it. You should note is that there are still skills that are associated with each role, and just make sure that you have at least 2 points in every one of those abilities. Other than that, you are good to move on to the last part, which is going to be outfitting your character. You have 2,550 Eurobucks that you can spend on all of your equipment and cyberware. So this is arming yourself, getting armor. This is getting different pieces of cyberware. Just keep in mind though that there's a lot of stuff that you can buy, and there's a lot of stuff that is very good to have on you for both combat and roleplay purposes, so make sure that you are spending that money accordingly. Now, a fun thing about complete package characters is that you'll get a little extra money for spending on fashion choices, and a lot of that's going to be determined by following your life path, which we'll be talking about in a future video. But once your points are all spent, your gear is purchased, everything is filled on your character sheet, you're good to go. Now, there are a couple of things that you should keep in mind that every character method is going to be held to, and that is determining your health points and your humanity. So your character's HP, you'll basically be consulting a table that is listed on page 79. You will find where your body and your will scores match up. That just determines your total health. This is also going to determine your seriously wounded threshold, which is half of your character's total HP, and what your death save, which is going to be equal to your body stat. So if you have that low body stat, it's going to be a lot harder for you to actually succeed on that check. So something just to keep in mind. And lastly, there is your humanity stat. Every character is going to be subject to this, and this is just going to be equivalent to 10 times your empathy score. So at the most, you'd be able to have 80 humanity. And what is humanity used for in this game? Humanity is largely going to affect the amount of cyberware that your character can have. Every time that you get something that is not meant for conforming to a gender thing or a medical reason, such as if your character loses a hand, for example, you are going to lose humanity by intentionally removing part of yourself. Now, there are other ways to lose humanity. It's usually if your character is tortured, if they're having just a really hard time mentally, if you're not having a solid place to sleep. These are also going to affect your total humanity that you have. And there are ways to get humanity back. It's usually, in terms of roleplay purposes, it's going to be determined by, intensive therapy or even the removal of cyberware if that is an option for your character. However, if your humanity drops too low, your character will go cyber psycho. If you have seen the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, that's a very big deal in that show, so it's just something to keep in mind. And in terms of gameplay, it just means that your character sheet would be given to your game master, and then they would determine what happens to them from there. It's possible to get your character back, but just something to keep in mind. So these are the 3 ways that you can make a character in Cyberpunk Red. Personally, I really enjoy the fact that there are 3 very distinct methods. I absolutely love this. I like that there is a lot of ways that you can customize and tailor this character to be exactly what you want them to be. And it also just means that if you're going to be getting in a game in an afternoon, just do that template method. You are ready to go within probably about 10 minutes, especially if you know what you're already doing. But that is going to be the end of this video. I hope that you find it helpful. And again, if you have any recommendations or tips for people that are making their first Cyberpunks, what would you have them do? But if you like that video, please give that a thumbs up. If you want to see a little bit more on what I do here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I'm still a small content creator, and any little bit of support is truly, truly appreciated. But hey, until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.